Okay, so I'll call the meeting to order
Make a motion that we go into the public hearing?
at 7:02. We need to do attendance first.
Oh,
Jen Thomas, absent. John Stevens, present. Kristen Belanger, not present. Justin Wood is going to be coming. He's absent right now. Paul Scarlett.
here.
Ken Holberger will be here shortly if he's not on already. Jim Gallagher
Here.
and Sandy Brock.
Here.
Brooke Paget.
Here.
Okay, we have a quorum. We are going to pass over the public hearing because of posting requirements. The fact that this went from live to Zoom and the room was posted as A for the public hearing. So that was like too complicated to throw at the public without enough notice. So we will postpone the public hearing until next month. And that did get posted that it was postponed. So if anybody is looking for that information, and there's signs on the doors at the Municipal Center to let them know. So I've got to get back to the agenda. Let's see, so, and I'm going to bump up just real quickly so we can get this out of the way. The reorg, we annually reorganize the committee and elect officers. Do I have a
I'd
motion?
like to make a motion.
Jim Gallagher, yes.
I'd like to nominate John Stevens as chair, Jim Gallagher as vice chair, Ken as treasurer, and Brooke as clerk.
Okay, so keeping the same officers with the exception of Brooke Paget will be the new clerk replacing Jen Thomas, correct?
Yes.
Okay, do we have any discussion? What, Brooke?
Yeah, I have discussion.
How do I mute this guy? Where's the mute
Yeah.
button?
What exactly am I gonna do as the clerk?
You coordinate with Joanne, who as a staff person does our minutes, and just make sure that the minutes are posted. Make sure she does this, but she just coordinate with her posting in minutes, making sure the agenda is posted, working because that she and I work together on the agenda, and reserving the room, which she does as well because she's right there. So a
Okay, so
lot of-
Joanne's gonna be holding my hand the whole time.
exactly,
Whatever there is
a
to
lot.
do, I'm gonna
She'll
do it with
hold
her.
both your hands if you do.
Oh.
You're a figurehead.
Any
This is the
human
best committee
is
to
good.
be the clerk in, Brooke.
Huh?
This is the best committee to be the clerk in because
Okay.
we have Joanne.
All right,
Joanne,
okay,
yeah, she does the heavy hitting.
all right, that's good.
Okay.
Until something comes up, we'll find something.
Yeah,
Any other discussion? We have a motion and a second. All those in favor, and I will do a
Who
roll.
seconded? Who did the second?
Oh, maybe there was a question. Did you, maybe that was Brooke questioning. Was there a second?
I'll say,
I don't know if can you second it when you're,
I'll second it. It's fine.
yeah, okay.
So a motion by Jim Gallagher and a second by Paul Scarlett. All those in favor, and I'll call Jim Gallagher,
Aye.
Sandy Brock,
Aye.
Paul Scarlett,
Aye.
Brooke Paget, John Stevens, aye, and then Jen Thomas, not present, Kristen Belanger, not present, Justin Wood, not present, Ken Holberger, not present. So the motion carried. So now we will skip over to discussion of the grant process with CIPC. And I believe it's Colleen, are you the chairman of that committee?
I am.
Okay, so if you want to take the lead and we will answer questions or help with whatever it is that we can help you with.
So at the last CPC meeting, you guys announced that you were going to be reviewing your grant process. So I wanted to kind of just participate and listen and try to get a better understanding of whatever it was you were prepared to present tonight as part of that workshop, as
Right.
well as start to establish a good working relationship with CPC so that we can start knocking some of the capital items off that do qualify for CPC funds.
Okay. So I think one of the things, it seems like, don't you have a 3 or a 5 year or 10-year plan,
We have a 5-year plan.
5-year plan, something like that? And Justin just popped on, I believe. So welcome.
Can we compare
Justin.
that to our plan, John? Sorry.
That's what I was going to say, that to look at their, I mean, if there are things on that plan that would be appropriate use of CPC money to, review those items. And what's the dollar amount for the 5-year plan, all the asks? I'm sure it's in the millions,
Yeah,
right?
and all the asks wouldn't qualify for CPC funds. I would say
Right.
a small percentage of them would.
Okay. But that we could review those, and so I'm kind of asking you questions as well. How do the proposals come to you strictly from department heads, or the town administrator, the selectmen themselves? Does the public get involved with requests?
So this year it came all from department heads. Departments know what they need and they send us a package to planning. They put it into a big capital package and then they send it over to CIPC to review and make a recommendation.
Okay.
So, I mean, I know some of the stuff off the 5-year plan. I was looking at some of historical projects that have been funded in other towns, like replacing the bleachers. The schools need to have their bleachers replaced. That's on our plan. Other towns have used CPC funds for that. That would be a great one to be able to tick off and do that. So to work with you guys to identify which projects will qualify. So when department heads submit things, we can say, hey, did you check with CPC? So they can apply it at that time.
Makes sense.
Are these bleachers in a gym or outside at a football field?
Let me see.
Because if they're inside, I don't believe inside things qualify. Like we can't build a gym.
Correct.
That's recreation, but we still can't do it because I think we've been asked, or Jen was trying to work out something for recreation, and it didn't fly with the church. Paul?
I just want to say, I think it's still worthwhile to compare lists, particularly, even if things they have aren't on our list. I mean, it's still worthwhile to look, because there may be things that we have combined interest in, which make it even more important to move forward on.
And I think Jen Anderson's recreation projects have been the best, easiest fit for us in terms of department heads. Just right off the bat, projects I can rattle off a bunch that she has in the last couple of years been able to propose and receive funding. So I don't know if you've got a lot of that under your belt and you need other projects, but that has been a pretty easy way for us to apply CPC funds to the capital needs that the town might have. Brooke, did you have your hand up?
Yeah, I was only gonna say, I mean, I don't have a problem with looking at the list either. Just knowing when we brought CPC to the town and when we were first introducing it, the way it was sold to the town from the state as well as to the town members, CPC was not there to take budget items away from capital projects or the town responsibility. It was kind of there to do the stuff that towns don't ordinarily put money out to, that it's a fight for. As you can see, the like boat ramps or that kind of things, or an additional park or something that, ordinarily is kind of outside or would be a hard capital project to do, repaving a road or doing a roof or bleachers even for the school. I mean, I'm not against doing any of it, but just know CPC is not there to do things that ordinarily be a capital project for the town under the town budgeting. At least that's my understanding. You guys can tell me differently if that's the way you've done it over the years, but it was sold in the way that, you'd never get money to build another park, or you'd never get money to put in a boat ramp. So you apply for CPC funding to do that, or pass and miss, it's a good one. That's that's not really a town, it's not a town-owned building, but it's still important to the town. So I just don't want to go down, I don't want it to become another budget, to take things out of the town capital budget that we should be spending town money on. It's kind of an extra. And if I'm wrong, if that's not the way how it's been done, that's the way it was presented.
Okay, let me go to Jim and then I saw Colleen.
All right, I think what we need to remember is that in the beginning, before the CPC, everything went into capital improvement. So if there are things on the capital improvement plan that are CPC type items, then I think it should come to us. Again, because there was no CPC before, that's why they all ended up there. And Brooke's comment is right on, because what we wanted to do is to make sure that there were no capital improvement items that were going to go towards CPC funds, but things like bleachers and things like that. Once upon a time, that would have been a capital improvement, but now that's clearly a recreation item.
Before we get too deep in,
Wait just a second, Colleen, and then Greg.
So just to respond to that, I 100% agree. I don't think CPC should be funding the full capital list at all, but there is overlap where CPC funds could be used for capital projects that are going to be way down on the list because they're never going to get funded otherwise. And I think that overlap is what we're looking to explore.
And I think that's, we would definitely want to work with whichever department head. I mean, we can somehow coordinate. I don't know if the best way to do it is just for you guys to send over a list with things that you off of your list to say, these are items that we believe would be most appropriate for the use of CPC funds. And we could take a quick look and then respond back to say, 1, 7, and 9 are excellent fits with CPC, and then kind of work from there, see if those are what you feel like are the most important things for you, or that you would rather have 2 and 9 instead of 7 and 3. So I think that's a good start to kind of have discussions. We'd also need to know the timetable, and you need to know our timetable as well, because we have deadlines for applications, and all of it is built on the warrants being in to you guys, the selectmen, by I think it's 45 days in advance that the warrant closes. Is that right, Joanne? I think that's 45 days. So that that's why in July we're voting on things for October town meeting. It's just that we have to push it back because the August meeting is when we have the final vote, but the projects are due in July. And then we vote on them in August, then it's the end of the month as well. That's why it's also kind of pushed back to meet the October deadline, 45-day deadline.
John, may I jump in before Greg, quick, just to clarify
Yes.
something that you said? So
Yep.
it is 45 days. And one of the things, if I can just mention the logistics, you're talking about a list, I think, if I understand correctly from CIPC, currently exists. So this may be a situation of CPC getting that list and reviewing it. And the applications for the fall town meeting are actually due next month, with candidates coming before the committee in August. So the sooner you get that list, if any of those items might want to be considered for the fall town meeting, probably the better. Make sense?
Because this is a quick turnaround for
Right.
first
This is always our
deadline.
tricky one. It feels like we just come out of town meeting and, you're
As we did.
expecting to. I know. You're right. You're right.
let's see, somebody else just came in. I don't know. Anyway,
before,
sorry.
point of
Greg,
order.
good talk. Yeah, there you go. You're kind of
Patient man.
halfway.
Colleen, we have this as a posted meeting and we have a quorum. Do we need to officially open the meeting?
I suppose we have. I've never done a joint meeting before. So I officially called the CIPC meeting to order. And do I need to take a roll call, Greg?
I believe so.
Okay, Greg,
Here,
Matt,
Here.
Amy,
Here.
Colleen here, Kyle,
Here.
Jeremy, Sue. Okay, thank you, Greg.
Can I ask Colleen, do you know off the top of your head, how many CPC type items might be on that list?
So I was reviewing it a little bit right before we hopped on, and there was a couple items, the school had a few, and I was reviewing what other towns have done, and, you know, the school has turf replacements coming up, turf field replacements, and I know a lot of athletic fields and things have been done in other towns. The bleachers, I saw that in other towns, doing a field house at the school. Silver Lake Beach is looking to build a building over there as well, so those were some of the ones that jumped out at me.
Colleen, it's my understanding that CPA funds cannot be used on a turf field. That turf is specifically excluded. Do you have examples of cities or towns that have used CPA money on turf fields?
Well, I was just saying, so where is that? It just said school field improvement, school field reconstruction, school field improvement. So I hadn't dug in deep to know if
Okay.
it was turf or not.
Okay.
But I
Okay.
can continue to dig that as well. So I can be more
Well, I can-
prepared next time with examples, but
I can certainly talk to the coalition about it, but my last conversation with them around this was no turf.
I think
Okay.
that, because we did have this conversation a year or two ago, it seems like it did come up in Matthew often.
Thanks. Yeah. I'd recommend that we not could go down the rabbit hole of talking about individual, whether they qualify for CPA or not. Those ultimately are your decisions to make and to determine. I think, you know, this conversation really is about the process. So for us, in terms of timing, we get that capital package typically in the August timeframe. So it might, you know, we have the 5-year list available at the moment, if you guys want to take a look at it. And then there will be new items that will come on in August. So we might be, you know, a cycle behind you guys in terms of when we get our requests and when you guys need them in. But I don't think there's anything on our list that I saw that was an immediate need. So if, you know, if we're up a year behind, that's probably okay. Because as Colleen mentioned, a lot of the items that are on our list probably wouldn't get funded for several years anyways. So, you know, if we can get some funding from CPC for things that are appropriate, the timing probably works fine for
I
us.
think that for this year, it actually, because for you guys to pull all the information together for the, unless you have staff, and I'm not sure who, if with
We
the
don't.
planning, that, so to get estimates and to get, you know, all the details, and that would be a hard thing unless you really had a project almost shovel ready to do in a month. You'd still have, we give you a breather. That's why we do it in July, because if you're still missing things, you still have a month to grab more details or get things answered, so that at the August meeting, when we do vote, you have that opportunity to provide additional information to make the request a stronger request. But it's, I think right now, this is like a real quick, might be too quick to get something, but then it's a good opportunity then for natural planning that you would start in August for, I think they're due in February. So you have all fall to chase down numbers and get details if you have to go to school departments and ask different people and get them to, you know, help put all the information together.
Makes sense. So I guess that was part of my second question, which was who will be submitting requests? So we get capital requests, but obviously what we get in terms of the capital forms are very different than the level of detail and the type of information that you need to make your determinations and prioritization. So we have to figure out who's going to actually be submitting those requests.
I would say the department head, and I know Greg has a hand, and then Colleen. I'm gonna say Colleen, I'm sorry, Colleen. We had a neighbor that was Colleen. But the department head, like you would say, okay, we haven't had an initial discussion with CPC. We feel like this is a good fit for a CPC project. Then you would kind of like offload that to them, and they would then come to us independently. And I'm sure they would communicate back to you, you know, how things are going. You know, certainly we would if we needed more information from you, but they would be the one as the applicant, that as that department head for whatever project they were proposing.
Got it. Okay.
Okay, Greg?
Yeah, that's pretty much where I was going, is just confirming that we're just advisory to the select board and the town administrator. We wouldn't be bringing anything to CPC. At
Right,
most, we'd be talking to the departments about their projects during our normal process and saying, this seems like something that you should go to CPC with, so.
yeah, that sounds good.
And if I
And-
Matt, my only question was to, curiosity as to how many you actually had. So I wasn't really looking to get, a real list. Did Matt just disappear?
Nope, still here.
Oh, there you are. My
Yeah,
screen jumped around.
Yeah. I
Well,
know.
my age, everything's gotta stay still because I don't follow it well.
Yeah, no, it's a fairly lengthy list, as you'd imagine, and it's not complete by any means. But right now, it's just really a spreadsheet with the capital request backup detail for the individual request. But there's dozens of them at this point, and the school obviously has its own list of capital items as well. So it's a pretty big package. But I think it's at least the spreadsheet's pretty well organized, so that you could probably pretty easily just scan through and see things that might potentially qualify for CPA funding.
And that also would kind of follow the natural flow of the annual town meeting being the time when you really do these kind of things.
Okay, yeah, that
And,
makes sense.
February is kind of, or sorry, October is kind of a catch-all between, whatever comes in between, but so that way, I think that cycle would work fine for us, and it would give you guys plenty of time in the fall to put together a good project.
Sounds great.
Did I miss anybody on hands? Okay. Any other questions that you have for us at this point? Colleen?
So what are your deadlines and how does it work in the fall for you guys? When would you want applications by? How are they reviewed? When are they voted on? Because we're gonna need to articulate that to
Yep.
department when we send them
The-
back.
On our website, it has that, but just I can say generally, and I think this will say it because it doesn't say February 3rd. It's the 4th Thursday in February that the applications would be due, and the 4th Thursday in March and the February meeting is when the applications are due and the proponent would come and present. That's always recommended. People do just submit a proposal, but they're not there then to answer questions if we have questions. So it's always, we recommend it. We don't require it, but it's strongly recommended or encouraged that you be there. It's pretty gentle compared to finance committee sometimes.
John, if I can, so
Yes.
Colleen, in the community preservation plan that's on the website, I was just going to share it, but I think it's just easier. It's pages 37 and 38. List out the task calendar, so that'll show each month and then what the committee is looking for from applicants.
We figure if anyone gets to page 37, they're really interested.
Exactly.
That was Jim's idea, by the way. He's getting full credit for that.
Brainchild.
And I think it's because he made a comment as, if I had to read that many pages, I wouldn't do the project.
Is there anything from CIPC that you guys would like to make sure that we accomplish when we are sending department heads back?
I think just to have them reach out to me and to Joanne so that, the staff persons involved, I'm involved, to do initial review and to help guide them. We also have, if people need assistance, kind of a grant writing workshop, so to speak, so that if they want assistance, that we're more than happy to help. Once the project is approved, it's assigned to a committee member, and that member is the one that will shepherd that project through from CPC, so they'll report to that person. That person will follow up with them, depending on the project, weekly or monthly, to try to get updates, to try to get photographs, to try to get data. We're trying to include that type of information on the website. And then we also have to include that we have an annual report that's due September 15th each year to the state, that documents the funds that were spent and what subjects received the funding. So whether it's historic preservation or recreation, we have to designate it as such. And it can be more than one. And that makes a stronger, always makes a stronger project. That if it can cross over like Hassanamessett Woods, open space and historical. So it's a lot of times that it's very easy for those to fit into two categories. Sometimes it's just one.
And one of the things that we spent money on, and I just love spending CPC money on people to write us up plans as opposed to like doing something real. But we had a consultant that really did a good job. But that information that's on our website about how to apply, who's eligible, what the process is, that's all brand new. I mean, the steps and everything are not. It's what we've been doing all along, but it's really laid out well. And it's even I understood it. So I think these folks can go right through and make a request for coverage, So it's much better than it ever was. Way back at the beginning, Joanne and I literally cut pieces of questions out and scotch taped them together and photocopied them and gave those to people. So we've come a long way from that.
Come on, we used a glue stick. We didn't.
She wouldn't let me use the scissors, even the plastic ones.
I thought we were using paste. It's been so long ago.
Yeah.
Okay, anything else?
No, that's really excited to have a good working relationship with you guys. So I mean, I would like to meet maybe once a year or two just to check in to see if we're doing it well or what you guys want more from us or what we can do to help support you guys is what I'm going for. A solid working relationship between these two committees.
Okay, we have met with CIPC in the past, once or twice, but not regularly, like you say. And that would, if you think during the process, if there's a better time for us to do that, either before or after, or maybe after to kind of assess, like after town meeting, where your projects are coming up, to say what we did well, what we need to improve on, ideas, or if you think there's another time that would be better. But I think that would be good for us to compare notes like that once a year.
Cool beans.
Okay. Thank you very much. We appreciate you.
Thank you. So I think I have to call adjourn CIPC. So I'll take a motion for that.
I make a motion, we adjourn.
Second,
Second.
I'll figure out one of us will do.
Thanks,
You
Greg.
may
So
want to
Greg,
check on Kyle. He hasn't moved the whole time we've been here.
there he is.
Oh, there he is.
He was on for the roll call.
My Wi-Fi is not really great, so I try to keep off video, not slow anything down.
Well, you didn't even blink.
I mean, that photo's a great one, so I have that.
All right. So Greg,
Aye.
Matt,
Aye.
Kyle,
Hi.
Amy,
Aye.
Colleen, I. Okay. CIPC is adjourned. Thank you guys.
Thank you,
Thanks for
everyone.
coming,
Thank you.
guys.
Thank
Have a
you.
Great
Good
summer.
seeing you all.
Good night.
Peace out.
John, can you demote me to attendee so I can hang out and watch?
I will let Joanne demote you.
Thank you, Joanne.
Me too,
Yeah,
please.
you thank me. Let's see if I do it
Yeah,
successfully.
you may get
Hold
new.
on.
She's doing this from, I don't know, 1,000 miles away. So
It's not 1,000 miles away. I've been there.
is it?
It's
No, I don't-
drivable. It's
500
drivable.
miles.
It's more than that, I think. No, maybe not. Maybe it is about 500. Probably about right. Joanne, is it 500 miles?
She nuked
So it
herself.
was 6 hours to the Cape May Ferry, and then it was an hour and a half crossing, so I don't work in miles. Colleen, I'm trying to figure out how to do this, and I'm not.
Well,
having-
let her hang out. She doesn't have to be demoted.
I can always just leave and come back. Ryan. You're on vacation. I don't want to make you work hard.
Oh,
Just
change
hang
role. I
out.
see it now.
Just
I
stay
see it. Here you
Just
go.
hang out.
Goodbye. You're going.
I think she's trying to do this from a phone too, so she gets extra points for tonight. And I think Amy wanted to do that,
Yeah, but
too,
now it's gone again. What the heck?
but she's gone.
Greg's-
Maybe she'll come back. Greg, did you want to stay on?
Yeah, I'll stay too.
Don't just let them stay, and it's not a
Yeah.
big deal.
Yeah.
That's not a big
I
deal.
don't know the difference, so.
Yeah.
I just see faces up.
Okay, the problem
It
is
loo- it looks like it went-
I'm now drunken with power. I figured out how to do it, so don't anybody annoy me. I think I just moved Greg.
Greg's still there. I see him. I see his picture there.
Yeah.
Oh.
So, okay, so we will go back to
And
Greg's gone.
our meeting, or,
you also moved Jim Gallagher off by accident.
uh-oh.
Thank you for
did?
being observant, Justin.
Ha,
So are they still there?
Promote
It
the
says
panelist.
10
He's coming back.
participants.
He's coming back.
He's gonna be mad. You dissed it.
It's just whether you can speak or not. That's really all it is. If you're an attendee,
Yeah.
you can
I'm
only do it
sorry,
in chat.
Jim.
There he is.
I
I'm
told her she
sorry.
Now
had
you're
to let
muted,
you
Jim.
back in.
Oh,
He's
now
on
he's
mute.
muted.
You're on
You're
mute,
muted.
Jim.
I don't know if you muted yourself or if.
There we
there
go.
you go.
Justin, I don't think it was an accident.
You're right. I
Yeah,
had to convince her. to
You
let
didn't see
back in.
Justin handing her the $20 bill,
Yeah.
slipping it through the, whatever, the internet. So Ken's not here, so. Is
I
he?
did, no, I did text him and I have not heard back from him, so he
Okay,
may
because I
not be
did
coming.
text him earlier today, and so I just, because he didn't say otherwise, assumed he would be here tonight. So he may come later, so we will pass over the treasurer's report. And I think we'll probably, are we gonna pass over the clerk's report, Joanne?
Yes, unfortunately, I don't have the minutes.
Yeah.
I apologize.
No, that's fine. No. So we're probably coming up to a highlight of the evening. Paul Scarlett's going to give us an update of the Grafton Common project.
Yeah, a lot's been happening since we last met. And correct me if I'm wrong, when we last met, we had just gotten the bids in, right? We discussed the bids.
Right.
So that's the last you guys knew. So shortly after that point, we got to meet and we discussed the fact that we were well under budget. And one of the things that was kind of percolating at the time that we went to town meeting with this project was a ADA self-study the town was doing. And that self-study, we only found out about after we had already done our budgeting. I think it was right before, and I could be wrong, timing is close, but it was right around the time that we were applying for the funding to this body. So long and short is we knew that the town was doing this study and we knew that the common was within the scope of the study, but we didn't know what the results of that study were going to be. So we couldn't fold in the accessibility issue at the bandstand, not knowing what they were going to have as an outcome from that report, what the guidelines are going to be, what direction they were going to point us in. So long and short is it wasn't included, but in our presentation at town meeting, we did mention the fact that accessibility was something that we were in support of for the bandstand. We talked about the ADA self-study that was going on and just said, the timing was such that we couldn't include it in the plans at that point, but we look forward to working with the select board when the time was right. So fast forward to this year, and just in May, right before we met, we got our bids in, and our bid came in at roughly a little less than half of what we had budgeted for. Now, a lot of money was put into the engineering to go into this, so the bid came in at just under 300,000, and we've spent probably around 50,000, give or take, on engineering and arborist fees and whatnot in preparation for going out to bid. So the long and short is we have a lot of money left, and that ADA self-study has now been done. We know now that accessibility of the bandstand is definitely something that was pointed out on that. It's a very visible piece of this town. It's, I would say, almost an icon to the town. It's certainly a significant landmark within the town. So the way the warrant article was that was approved at town meeting in May of 2019 was worded was that it was for the purposes of restoring the historic Grafton Common. And we purposely made that somewhat broad, knowing that things could come up like this. And we wanted to make sure that as long as it was something that fell within the scope and of the project at its core, the spirit of it, if you will, that we'd be able to do a change order if funding was available. And I've had experience in a few projects, and this is the first time I've ever had a situation like this where we actually have funding available. So this is kind of stars have aligned type of thing. And our discussion was basically that we wanted to move forward with trying to accomplish that work, the accessibility that we know is important to the town. When we have the money, we're going to have a contractor on site, mobilized. But we have a narrow window to get it done with because the project starts July 1st. The current timeline would have it done by the end of August. So you have a 2-month window there. And in order to move forward, we wanted to bring it up when we had the meeting with, well, we didn't have a meeting, but we went before the select board to have the contract signed with the winning bidder for the project. And we wanted to bring it up, and we did bring it up, but we ended up bringing it up through Andy DeShane and didn't have a member present because of some communication snafus. Unfortunately, we weren't able to participate in the conversation. So some questions were raised, and because of that, we sent a letter to the select board just pointing out, first of all, that what I just talked about, how the warrant article was worded and the logic that went into that. Also that the repairs to the bandstand, have been within the scope of the project all along. There's some confusion there. They thought that we didn't talk about repairs, and to give them a break. It was 2 years ago that this conversation took place, so it's not surprising that they wouldn't know at the top of their head what we had said. So the only change in the scope that we're coming up with now is based on the level of deterioration of the lower section of the bandstand. It's basically far worse than what we had seen 3 years ago when we were originally putting together our plans. And the bottom line is the magnitude of that work triggers the requirement for making it accessible under the Architectural Access Board's regulations, which are outlined under 521 CMR. So that's the bottom line, is it has to be made accessible if we are going to repair it. And it is not safe right now. It has to be repaired. That is what this project is, what the funding was set aside for. So it seems just a perfectly natural fit. And I have had some discussions with a couple of select board members, maybe not discussions, but communication. And it seems like, based on the letter that we sent clarifying these points and a few other questions that they had, that they are going to be in support of this initiative. We also reached out to the Disability Commission. I've been in communication regularly with Roger Trahan, who is the chair of that anyways. If you all recall, when we first brought this project forward, there was concern with the brick that had been approved at town meeting, because the consultants that were hired for that ADA self-evaluation had raised some concern with it when they met with the select board to present their results. It wasn't identified as a concern in the report. It was just something that was commented on during the meeting, which prompted the select board to ask us to meet with the Disability Commission to discuss what we were proposing, which we did. And we pointed out that we were going to be using guidelines for 521 CMR that actually aren't currently in place. They're not the current guidelines. They're the ones that are proposed. And the reason we're doing it is those guidelines outline specifically what needs to be done when you're installing brick, which is what is being done on this project. So, you know, it has stipulations for how it is laid. For instance, having it either in a vertical pattern or having it in a, oh, I always draw a blank. What's the other pattern, John?
Which, the
Never
one that's
mind.
going to be around the bandstand?
Yes, yes,
Um,
that's all right. There's two patterns that are approved, and we'll remember.
One's a
eventually.
running bond. The running
One's a
bond is-
running and
And I
No,
think that's,
it's a running bond. It's a vertical as opposed to horizontally laid, which you traditionally have seen.
Oh.
But the other one is a herringbone. Thank you. I should remember that. I'm Scottish, and herringbone's a big Scottish plaid type thing. So at any rate, the herringbone is also an approved pattern. Those two are approved because they help to reduce the amount of kind of noise that gets made as you traverse over the material. If you were in a stroller, or if you were pushing a stroller, or if you were in a wheelchair. So there are those guidelines, and then it just has to deal with the amount of space that can be between the bricks, the type of bricks that you can put in. So we're following those guidelines. So at any rate, the long and short is what I was trying to point out is that we have been meeting with we met with the Disability Commission back when we originally proposed the plan, been in communication with the chair, and they actually recently met and discussed what we have been working on with regard to this change order, and voted to support our request, and actually sent a letter to the select board. So that body is in support of moving forward with this too. So I just wanted to share those facts. And then I wanted to let you guys actually see, we had a hearing last night. So Joanne, is it all right if can I share?
Yes, you can.
All right. So give me 1 second and I will open it up. All right. And it will tell me which one I can share. There we go. Just tell me if you guys can see what I'm sharing. Does it need to be made bigger? Or?
Can't see it. It's coming up.
That's good.
All right, so we basically had 4 proposals. The first 2, A and B, I don't have renderings on, and that's because we basically had to nix them. So our original concept was to try and create a ramp that would wrap around the bandstand. But the problem with doing that is every time you take a 45-degree turn, you would have to have a 5-foot level landing. And because of the spacing and all and how that would work, it just physically wouldn't be feasible for us to do that. So those 2 configurations, they were both pretty much the same, except where the ramp started was different. But we decided not to move forward with those because they just weren't feasible. So this is actually, we had A, B, C, and D. So this is actually concept D. So this shows a pretty much traditional 1 in 12 ramp, which is the an approved ADA slope for a ramp. With that type of ramp where you have that degree of slope, you need to have handrails on both sides. What we were trying to do here is minimize the impact of the handrails by having railings that had a kind of a relatively slim profile. And the coloring here doesn't match, and the patterns of the brick don't match, but the concept is that the Bandstand as it exists today has this brick out front. That will be staying, but it'll be replaced with a different, a new brick, and it'll be in the herringbone pattern. And then the pathway or walkway, ramp, or whatever you would like to call it, that is going to be in brick too, but that will be in the same pattern that is used on the walkways. So basically this comes up and there's a landing just around the bend. So right behind the gentleman with the, I think he's got a trumpet in his hands, is where you would enter. So that's concept B. And bear with me 1 second. Stop sharing and find the other one. Sorry, the pregnant pause. So can everyone see this?
We see your desktop right now.
We're seeing an index.
An index. Oh, all right. Let's stop sharing that then. Let's try sharing again. I must have shared the wrong screen. Yeah, it switched screens on me. Sorry, guys. How's that?
There we go.
All right. So this is option C. And the biggest difference you will see here is there are no handrails. And the reason there are no handrails is that the ramp, which essentially goes around 2/3 of the bandstand, it's a raised walkway, but it's only raised at a slope of 1 in 20. And because it's so much more gradual, you don't need to have handrails. So from an aesthetic standpoint, it much less impact to the look and feel of the bandstand with this approach. Now, this is just a rendering. It shows like a hedge that follows the contour of the path. It goes, you can see it goes all the way around to the other side. Like I said, is just conceptual. We could just as easily have low shrubs and some plantings with mulching. It really just needs to be something to differentiate between the walkway and what will be a gently sloped incline. And at the end of the ramp, basically, just so you know, the bandstand itself is about 15 inches high. It's exactly 15 inches high. So that's fortunate in that we don't have to go up too high. But at the other end, where you will be 15 inches high, and you can't see it in this drawing, the entrance to it is essentially beyond, I don't know, is it a clarinet player? There's a gentleman in the back over, I don't know, can you guys see my cursor? Like over in this area? So over in this area is where the entrance is. So it will curve around and then you would go in here. But we would have a lip on the, at the top there so that if somebody was in a wheelchair, they're not going to roll down the slight incline that would be there. Like I said, this is an approved concept. And we actually kind of discussed this when we originally put this out. We were thinking it might be better to have the entrance where it's shown here. We don't feel that anymore. We actually think leaving it where it is, which would have it, this would be the open section, is preferable, because that way you have symmetry. Is basically the shrubs and here, so you have, excuse me, section here, and then you'd have a section here, and the shrubs are right here. So you'd have symmetry. So that's kind of the line of thought we had.
I agree.
So Paul, I like the non-handrail one because there's a lot of reasons why that's nice. I would just make the suggestion when they get to the final drawings, they don't use the 1 in 20 and which is 5%, that you use 4.5%. You use 4.5% so you don't get into trouble because there's a certain construction tolerance.
I see what you're saying. Aim for something that's slightly below,
4.5.
so that if they're off, it's not going to be over.
Yep. So if it's pavement, it's 4.5. If it's concrete, it's 4.75. With brick, I'd go with 4.5.
Yeah, I will mention that to the architect. He probably will think of that too, but that's
Yeah, most
definitely
likely.
great,
Yep.
definitely great advice. Last thing you want is to finish it and find that you're over the slope.
That 2 foot level is not forgiving.
So just so you guys know, it would be concrete underneath the brick so that you can achieve the proper slope and it won't shift. And actually, the other design I showed you was concrete under the brick as well. So
Will it
just,
be-
I'm
will there
sorry.
be
someone had a
grab
question.
bars?
Grab bars where, Jim?
When they intersect with the gazebo or the bandstand?
That's a very good question. We will definitely have to investigate the guidelines as far as that. I would guess that it probably would be.
So
But-
when you're talking a walkway, which is the under the 5%, you do not need grab bars.
Oh,
So once you go over the 5%, it becomes a quote ramp under ADA and MAAB regulations. And that's when you need the continuous grab rail, that 1 1/4, whatever the heck it is. So that's where you need the 2 levels. So, so once you hit that over 5%, then all of the handrails are required, both sides. They have to be continuous. They have to be the certain size, everything like that.
yeah, that
Once you
makes sense.
go and you make it a walkway, and that's less than 5%, there is no grab bars. Now, having said that, that gives you the total freedom. If you wanted to put something in for convenience, then you don't have to meet their guidelines as far as heights and materials and shape. So it's, yeah.
Yeah, a grab bar would be nice there, I would think, and I don't think it would be very obtrusive, Jim. So that's definitely something we can look into.
Yeah, your architect will have all that they'll have all that info.
Sorry, guys, I have a tickle in my throat. I think it's dry from all this talking.
Does adding the bandstand to the common project change the timeline in any way?
Great question, Justin. Yes, it likely will. We don't know the extent yet. As I mentioned, one of the issues we have is we have a narrow window to get this done. So we've met, well, we first brought it up at the select board. Then the Historic District Commission had a meeting and discussed it, a public meeting. And then we've had our public hearing. And now we're coming here, and then we're going to be going back to those folks again. So it's definitely got to be factored in. Justin, repeat your question though. I want to make sure that
I was asking if this affected the timeline out of the start.
Oh yes,
and
thank you. I'm sorry, I got off
That's
on a
okay.
tangent. So the long and short is because of the timeline that we have, we're trying to get it done as quickly as we can, but we're still going to have to meet with the select board, and we're going to try to meet with them at their July 6th meeting. We asked Colleen actually if she would put us on the agenda. So hopefully we can have everything wrapped then. But we're right now scrambling to put together the design plans. We voted last night that this was based on the feedback we got at the hearing, that this was the approach that we wanted to move forward with. So we have to finalize a few things. A couple changes, like I was mentioning to you, is moving the entrance over here. We also talked about having some outlets up near the top, either up in this area or in this area, so that we can have some holiday or decorative lighting and have a place to plug it in. And then also having some hangers to hang the decorative lighting from, so you don't have to put nails in it every time you want to hang something up.
Yep.
And then another piece of it was talking about the ceiling on the inside, painting it a light blue, which helps to keep bees from actually nesting there, because they see the light blue and they think of it as sky, and they don't nest there, interestingly enough. It's also a very New England thing from that era, is to have porch ceilings painted light blue. So we're looking to do that, and there's some new LED lighting. If you go in there and look at the lighting that's up there right now, it's kind of it's like Christmas Vacation, with a power strip hanging up there and a light bulb plugged into it, and it looks pretty horrible. But we're going to put some LED lighting in there. Another thing is for the ramp, we talked about there's going to be a need for lighting of, and it's not really a ramp, it's a raised walkway, but putting lighting underneath this edge of the flooring, So the deck
Like a running light?
around, yeah, well, just say, I don't know if it'd be red, but it'd be like an LED strip that would light up the whole walkway, so that, and it would be on a timer so that it would turn on at night.
Paul, did you say that there was gonna be outlets on the base of the bandstand,
On the inside, not on the outside.
I'm sorry?
On the inside, up near the top, not on the outside.
How about on the bottom? What
I
I'm
think there are
thinking of is
some
if-
on the posts already, I believe. You're thinking
Oh,
of
okay.
cable TV?
Well, I'm thinking about cable, and I'm thinking about if you had, say, like a band that's there during the summer programs, and they need to plug in an amplifier.
Yep. We also are gonna have that box that will have the ability to have you to plug in. There's also new lighting that's gonna have outlets. So there's gonna be lots of places to plug in, but definitely we're looking at all of that, Jim.
Okay.
So even with this change order unsigned, are we able to start any of the common work, or does this block being able to start the work on the common?
No, this doesn't impact the start at all. It's just we want to get before them as soon as we can so that they know the full scope, so they can incorporate it in and, impact the timeline as little as possible. So the later we have to wait to get it approved, the later we get it to them, the more it impacts the timeline at the end. But again, it's not a huge project. It's a pretty small thing. They're going to be already on site. I don't imagine it's going to dramatically change the timeline, but we'll know more on that as we work with them over the next couple of weeks. And either by July 6th or their next meeting, which I don't know, they may have a workshop the following Tuesday. If not, then it'd be the one after that. But they've been meeting fairly regularly. So we hope to get before them as quickly as possible so that we can get moving on this.
Well, I have two questions. Do you know when the other one will be demolished,
What other one?
the other bandstand?
What is it? Is this like that the moon landing was all fake? What are you talking about?
No, so are you just like redoing it, or is this
Oh,
brand new?
No. Oh, I'm sorry. I should have been more descriptive of that. So most of the deterioration for the bandstand is down near the ground, so below the railings. And, we actually took the floorboards up and looked at what's under there. There's no it's like cinder blocks basically that are holding it up, and they're kind of sporadically placed. And there's a lot of rotted boards under there, as well as the decking itself. There's a lot of rotted boards to the point where it's just not safe. So we're basically going to have to jack it up. There may even be some of the pillars that may need some attention as well. So there's that piece, but the top part of it is actually in pretty good shape. Some of the ceiling deck needs to be replaced, but the Lions Club very generously did work on that roof just a few years ago, and replaced all the wood shingles, and that's all in good shape. So that really doesn't need to be replaced at all, which saves money for sure. That was all a donation by them, their own materials and their time.
The other question I had is that, would you have a comfort level if we were to call for a vote tonight to support this?
I think it would be helpful. I believe the select board is behind this now, but I know that one of the things they brought up is they wanted to hear what this body thought of the project and this change order, and whether they were in support of it. And they're also concerned about getting the same input from the Disability Commission, and they've
That's what I'm
provided a
thinking.
letter.
So,
So
yeah, so
it
when
would be
you're done-
helpful.
When you're done, we'll make a motion.
So one thing I didn't point out on this, did anyone notice anything different about the bandstand than what exists there today when you're looking at the structure yourself, other than the entrance is off?
The crosses?
Gazebo?
Yes. So-
not the gazebo, the top, whatever.
I don't know if they changed the top. It may look a little bit different, but
I think that looks, it's the same. I think that's the same.
the railing is different. The railing is different from what's there, but the railing is what was there originally. If you watch Odd Wilderness, you can see that this was the original design. So we looked at this as an opportunity to bring back a piece of history, and it's really, in our mind, it's very, I don't know, it makes it stand out because you don't see that design everywhere. That's pretty much it in a nutshell, folks. Any questions?
All right, I'd like to make a motion that we support this initiative as part of the common project.
Second.
Of a motion and a second, any discussion? All those in favor? And let's see, Jim Thomas absent, John Stevens, yes, Kristen, I don't believe it's here. Justin,
Aye.
Paul,
I think I have to abstain. I
Okay.
think, I
I
don't know.
think you
I don't-
can because we need a quorum.
All right, aye.
Yeah, actually, when you have a quorum and someone abstains, you still have quorum. At least that it is for,
All right, because,
Yeah.
I have no vested interest in this financially at all, but, I am a member of it. I don't know. It's up to you.
I don't think, you're not gonna gain monetarily from this, I think that's.
No, I am not.
You're not gonna get a job, you're not gonna, you don't.
Some
have
would
any
say
benefit.
I'm losing.
You're
Right.
getting a lot of extra work that you give, that you're losing.
Yeah.
I don't think Ken, did he jump on?
No, he did not.
Okay, Jim,
Aye,
Sandy,
aye.
and John, aye. If I didn't already, aye, or yes. Okay, motion carried. So, jump back.
I'll stop sharing before Joanne makes it.
She's now power drunk.
you better watch it, Paul, because she'll just throw you right off.
Sandy, thank you for sharing your knowledge about those ramps. and all.
Yeah, no
Appreciate
problem. I'm sure your architect's gonna do that. It's just that, you live and learn. That's all I'm
Yep.
gonna say on that one.
Yep.
And I do remember him saying there was a little bit of tolerance. So, I mean, I think he's probably real well aware of you want to go under, even though there is a little in the final result, what it could be. Okay, the next item up is the Robinson Properties. And Joanne, do you have that?
I do, I have, so Ken was going to speak to this. But the short of it is, remember when we purchased the Robinson Properties about 18 months ago, I think it was the properties around Silver Lake.
Yes.
And at that time, Ken had said there's going to be more. Well, there's more. And Justin, I think you know that it came before the planning board and the A&Rs were approved.
Yes.
So the land will be coming out of chapter soon. We don't know when, but this is land that the town would have probably a pretty significant interest in. Ken brought it to my attention, wanted it on the agenda for tonight. He is, his feeling is that this is land the committee definitely wants to take a very serious look at. Conservation, Sandy, I don't know if Leah talked to you about it, but she had conversations with me about it. It could mean the need for an emergency meeting on timing. And I did mention to Evan as well that it could even mean a special town meeting potentially for the CPC funding if it doesn't work with the fall schedule. Justin, you look like you got a question or something.
I was looking up to see if I could find the A&R that I
Oh,
could
okay.
share, but I don't see it yet.
I think at this point, what Ken wanted was to put this on the committee's radar. I don't have any pictures and I apologize. He was going to be bringing that. Something must have come up, but just of the land and the connection that it's going to make to the other pieces that we purchased. So more will follow on this. He said he's thinking it's going to be between $600,000 and $650,000. I did ask him if the land trust would potentially be able to kick in some money. I spoke to Leah about money that conservation might have. And, I also, as I mentioned before, talked to Evan about this. So it's on everybody's radar. And Leah also said she would look at grants for us, but she feels like we're off cycle for some of the state land grants.
Is the timing for the coming out of 61 or 61, is it 61 that it's coming out of?
Yeah.
Or 60, okay. When do we know the actual date that that's going to happen, or has that timeline already started?
No, we don't know. We have not gotten notification yet. And when we get it, we have, I believe it's 120 days.
6 months, yeah.
So did they notify the who did they notify? The planning board or the state, or?
Their attorneys will notify the select board, the planning board, the assessor's office,
Concom.
So
Concom.
a lot of committees,
Yes.
okay, so that we have plenty of
We'll
people
know.
that are involved
Yeah.
to start raising the flag. So we just know we have 6 months from the time that happens to turn around.
I think it's 4 months because I
4
think it's
months?
120 days.
It is 120 days. Sorry,
Yeah.
my
No, it's
math
okay.
is off.
Yep,
Okay,
nope.
so we have 4 months to come up with the funding to pay for it. Okay,
Right. And get, and get that passed at town meeting.
right.
All right.
So it's still possible that we could get, depending on how this process works with the Robinsons, that we could get a request to do this in a timely fashion for October
October.
town meeting.
Mhm.
And the selectmen, that's one thing I don't think I brought up at the previous discussion. They can open the warrant. If we needed to add something like this late, they would have to approve it, but this could get added later. Is that correct, Joanne?
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay. Well, that would save extra town meeting, and so that's kind of a backup. Okay.
Okay.
Okay. Next item, town meeting recap.
I kind of put
think-
that on there just in case there was something anybody wanted to talk about, but I don't, it's like a catch-all.
Right. I mean, I think it was pretty perfunctory, the warrant articles that we had. So,
I think it went well, and I was pleasantly surprised that no one wanted to discuss details on us extending the sunsets.
I think we've done it so many times, people get it, that we're not trying to pull a fast one or do anything tricky. It's just, we're trying to give the proponent adequate time to finish their project, and you never quite know for sure. Some projects go fast, some projects go slow. So I'm glad that there weren't any hiccups.
And also, as we started out, we didn't have any sunset at all.
The intent of the sunset when we instituted it was to make sure that projects didn't just sit there stagnant
Linger.
with the
Right.
funding just sitting there. So I think we just thought that town meeting was the only mechanism that we had for that. And
And it was a good
when we
idea.
talked to
then, and it is
legal
now.
counsel, actually, it wasn't. We could actually do it with a majority vote, so. And I think we said 2/3, right? 2/3 majority?
Right.
Yeah.
Okay. We already did reorg. Project updates. Any news from Candy? Any plans for the archive?
Oh, yes,
Oh.
she reached out to me. We had dialogue. I told her that after Joanne helped me, determined that the original funding that had no time limit on it has all been used up. Woohoo! So she does have other projects that she wants to move forward with. So she is working on pulling together the numbers. I think it's
Mhm.
Green Dragon Bindery, I think that she's
Right.
been working with.
Right.
So she's pulling all that together and we'll be presenting them to us. I gave her the whole timeline,
Mhm.
like we were talking about earlier. So she has the information she needs and knows I'm available. So I expect that she will be coming to us with a funding request for the fall.
Okay.
I just
Thank
don't
you.
know what it will be.
And it seems like we just do like $5,000 or $10,000, or did in the past.
It wasn't
did we-
huge amounts. Wasn't huge.
It's not a whole lot of money because she can't do a whole lot out, even
At
in
once.
increments. Yeah.
Right.
No update for gravestones. Grafton Common, you've already done. Weights and measures.
I'm sorry, can I
Um,
interject with something about the records? I apologize, I couldn't get
Yeah.
to my button.
Okay.
I thought that the committee had already, she'd gotten more money already. So she's used that up as well, Paul? Because I thought what I was looking at was the
She had
original
come-
money.
No, I think she came in and was, well, I could be wrong, but my recollection was that she had used up the rest of the money that was there. I could be wrong.
Okay.
It could have been another funding request, but I don't think so. I think it was the balance of what she had. And now that is used up and she wants to come back for more.
Okay, all right.
And I did send an email to, and I'm just totally blanking, to the town accountant's office, not to Mary, but to, is there a Jay Gould that works in that office now?
Jared,
Jared Gould, but is he the other person that works with Mary? Is that it?
well, Mary has Jared, who's
Okay.
actually, I believe, a temporary employee.
Okay,
But also Thomas, and his last name's escaping me, I apologize, but he is her like assistant financial, he's a financial analyst.
okay, because there was a woman, and I'm just totally blanking on her name, because I sent the email to her and it didn't bounce back. So I don't know if one of them grabbed it or not.
What's
Tina?
Mary's last name? Is it Loria?
Mary, yeah.
Loria.
It wasn't to Mary, it was to the assistant, because I
Lord.
grabbed like an older email because I was wanting to know how much money was for remaining in historic district.
Did you send it
And-
to Tina? Was it Tina?
I think that's who it went to, yes.
Yeah, Tina's not working for the town anymore. That's where Jared comes in.
Okay. So I think I got an email back, but it's just like the whole kitchen sink, and I need a specific. But hopefully he could answer that question about the town archives,
Mhm.
those
Yep.
fund balances. Okay, sorry. Weights and measures, project's completed. The only thing we're waiting on is moving it. There was a small hiccup, which we think has been resolved. That it's going to go into the historic reading room, which is now going to be called. This is bad. The guy who gave us the money, and it was my suggestion. Wheelock. It's going to be called the Wheelock
Jerome.
Reading. Jerome, but they're just going to call it the Wheelock Reading Room. For what we know as the library today, the historic old high ceiling is, but that's where the weights and measures will go. There was a plan to put it in the newer building, but there was a little problem, so we worked that out. Lions Club, Jim.
I talked to Peter Adams and he said that they're on twofold here. They're working with the people that are doing the drawings for the piping that's underground for the restrooms there, that they had to change that around because of what they found in the ground. And they have to like rework the scheme there. And also they're looking to straighten out the parking area now that the hill is done. So he's working with the town on that.
Okay, thank you.
And Jim, are you good with remaining as the contact for their third project? Because there was approval at town meeting for more funding? You're
Yes.
good with just staying with it all, right?
Yes.
Okay. And, you know, I apologize, John, when you were talking about town meeting recap, you probably wanted to talk about who would like to be the point person for the weed abatement project,
Oh, sorry.
which honestly, I'm happy just doing that. I think that's going to be a pretty quick project.
Okay,
And I've spoken so much with Bill that unless Sandy, like you really want to take it on, I'm happy to do it.
I don't mind assisting, but I have no problem with you leading the charge.
Okay. I don't know if the
thank you.
committee wants to vote on that or
um,
if you need to. I don't.
I
I
know.
don't, I think
I don't
since you
remember voting.
volunteered to do it. But I'm sorry, Justin,
All I was saying is I didn't remember voting for any when I was taking the lead on projects in the past, so I don't.
yeah, I think you
Okay.
just volunteer or you get appointed. So if you get
Okay.
appointed, and don't
All I'm
like it, that's
told.
maybe when we vote.
That's right. Okay. All right. I'll be quiet now. I'm sorry. Back to your updates.
Okay, so that's a good point. So you'll handle that. The Cisco, any updates with from Ray?
I haven't heard an update from Ray yet. I'll send her a message before the next meeting and hopefully have
Okay,
one more.
because I mean, now that it's summertime, hopefully they'll be able to jump back in on construction or the work that they were going to do. And since last one is recreation, and Kristen is not here. I don't know if we have, do you know any more? I think the only thing that I saw was the bill to do the repairs at Airport Park, and that's
Yes.
probably just about finished, if not finished.
Yes. Yep.
So I don't think there's anything else. Okay, I think it's Jim's turn.
Motion with adjourn.
Second.
Second.
Do I have a second?
Ah, Justin
Oh,
did.
Sandy's ready.
Was it Sandy that did it? Sandy. Ah,
We have a motion and a second. I guess I have to do a roll call. So I'll start with Sandy,
Yes.
Paul,
aye.
Jim,
Aye.
Justin,
Aye.
John, I. So motion carried unanimously. We are adjourned. Thank you, everyone.